Have you ever wondered what happens when the most beautiful person in the world meets someone who desires nothing at all? What happens when outer beauty stands face to face with inner freedom? Can admiration turn into awakening? And can love exist without possession? Today's story begins with a question that still haunts the human heart. What if everything the world celebrates about you is not who you truly are? Imagine living in a city that has everything: wealth, power, pleasure, music that never stops, streets lined with gold and silk, a place where desire is not hidden but honored, a city that believes happiness can be bought, worn, and displayed. Now imagine being the most admired woman in that city. Everyone knows your name. Everyone wants your attention. Everyone praises your beauty. But deep inside, something feels painfully incomplete. This is the world of ancient Vaishali. And this is the life of Amrapali. She had what millions dream of. Yet her heart remained restless. Why? Because no one had ever looked beyond her beauty. No one had ever seen her soul. Then one day, a strange name began to travel through the city. Not the name of a king, not the name of a conqueror, but the name of a silent monk, the Buddha, a man with no possessions, no palace, no desire to impress. And yet, his presence alone unsettled emperors. Why would a woman who had seen every form of power feel drawn to a man who owned nothing? Why would a heart surrounded by luxury tremble at the mention of silence? When Amrapali finally stood before the Buddha, something extraordinary happened. For the first time in her life, she was not admired. She was not desired. She was not judged. She was seen. What followed was not a romance in the usual sense. It was something far more dangerous and far more beautiful. A proposal that shocked a city, a response that shattered illusions, and a transformation that turned longing into liberation. This is not a story about marriage. It is a story about freedom. Let us step back into ancient Vaishali and witness the moment when beauty bowed before truth. Vaishali awakened each morning to sound and color. Drums echoed from palace courtyards. Traders shouted prices for silk, spices, and gold. Perfume drifted through the air so thick it seemed the city itself was breathing indulgence. Pleasure was not hidden here. It was displayed, celebrated, perfected. And in the center of it all lived Amrapali. Her residence stood like a jewel among jewels, surrounded by gardens where mango trees bent low with fruit and lotus ponds reflected the sky. From dawn until nightfall, visitors arrived, princes, ministers, poets, warriors, all carrying admiration wrapped in desire. They praised her beauty, her grace, her charm. Some offered protection, some offered wealth, some offered love. Yet when the doors finally closed and silence returned, Amrapali felt the same familiar hollowness. She would sit alone, removing her ornaments one by one, watching her reflection fade from splendor to simplicity. And in those quiet moments, a question rose again and again. Is this all I am? She did not despise her beauty. She understood its power, but she sensed it was not her truth. It was something she wore, not something she was. And the more the world adored her appearance, the more invisible her inner life became. That was when the whispers reached her ears. A monk had arrived near the city, a teacher unlike any other. Someone who spoke of suffering without despair, of freedom without escape, of peace without possessions. People said strange things about him, that he walked as if the earth supported him lovingly, that he listened more than he spoke, that when he answered questions, he did not give comfort. He gave clarity, and Raleigh felt drawn in a way she could not explain. It was not attraction, it was recognition, as if something long asleep within her had stirred. She did not announce her visit. She did not arrive with ceremony. She went simply, quietly, leaving behind the noise of Vaishali and stepping into the mango grove where the Buddha rested. The contrast was striking. No gold, no guards, no luxury, only trees, earth, and stillness. The Buddha sat beneath a mango tree, his presence grounded and effortless. When Amrapali approached, he looked up, and in that moment, time seemed to slow. She expected admiration, or judgment, or curiosity. She received none of those. His gaze passed through all surfaces and met her at the center of her being. It was as if he saw not who she had been told she was, but who she truly was beneath every name and role. Her breath caught. Her thoughts fell silent. For the first time, she did not feel like something to be wanted. She felt like someone allowed to exist. Moved by something deeper than reason, she invited him to her home for a meal, not as an obligation, not as a display, but as an offering. When word spread through Vaishali, outrage followed. Nobles hurried to extend their own invitations, offended that a woman of the court had reached him first. Surely a monk should dine with rulers, not with the city's most famous beauty. But the Buddha declined them all. "I will go to the house of Amrapali," he said. The city buzzed with disbelief. When the Buddha arrived at her residence, everything changed. The palace that once echoed with music and laughter fell quiet. Servants moved softly. Musicians lowered their instruments. Even the air felt different. Amrapali herself served the meal. She noticed how the Buddha ate, without haste, without attachment. Each movement carried awareness. There was no sense of lack, no craving for more, no rejection of what was given. Watching him, she understood something that shook her deeply. Here was a man who owned nothing, yet lacked nothing. When the meal ended, she knelt before him. All masks fell away. All pride dissolved. What remained was honesty. She spoke the words that rose naturally from her heart. "Let me live by your side. Take me as your wife. I offer you everything I have." This was not desire seeking possession. It was devotion seeking truth. The Buddha listened without interruption. Then, with gentleness that held no cruelty, he replied, "My path is not one of marriage. It is a path of freedom. I cannot belong to one because I belong to all." His words did not reject her. They clarified her longing. Tears filled her eyes as understanding dawned. She had mistaken the form of her yearning, not its essence. What she wanted was not a man, but the freedom he embodied. And so she asked again, this time without confusion, "Then guide me. Let me walk the path that leads to the peace you live." The Buddha accepted her as a disciple. From that day on, Amrapali's life transformed. She gave away her wealth. She donated her gardens to the monastic community. The place once known for indulgence became a sanctuary of reflection and silence. Over time, her beauty faded, as all beauty does. But something far greater took its place: wisdom. stillness, freedom, and Raleigh awakened. And her story remains with us not as a tale of romance, but as a reminder that what we seek through admiration, pleasure, and possession can only be found through truth. If this story speaks to something within you, carry it quietly into your own life. And if you wish to continue exploring wisdom and inner freedom, subscribe to the Soul to Wisdom channel.